and also when you can expect that funding. So by the end of the session, hopefully we've answered any questions you might have about those grants. We do have some dedicated time at the end to address questions or comments. So if you want to drop those in the chat, feel free to do so, or just jot them down somewhere and we'll address them in person at the end. All right, so we'll go ahead and begin with eligibility. So who can actually apply for this grant? So if you're in this session, you more than likely are able to do that. So if you're part of Rural Life's original treatment schools, then you're eligible. And with submitting proposals, we encourage either individuals with the support of their supervisors to submit proposals, or school or district teams. And the actual proposal itself, want to kind of look at what should be included in it. First, we want to address just the scope and scale of that sustainability grant proposal. If you're submitting first, think about how your proposal is going to directly relate to your school's previous work, okay, to improve literacy in the middle grades. So make a connection there in some way. And then secondly, we want to look at how that work can be expanded into an entire school or an entire district instead of just one or multiple classrooms. Okay, so we want to think more globally about that work and how we can share it on a larger scale. One thing that we do want to note, however, is that some materials are excluded, unfortunately. Because of rules governing federal grants and the supplanting of funding, we can't actually fund textbooks or programs that are officially adopted by a district or school. And just to give a very general example, we'll say, if your school had used grant funds to, say, purchase Amplify ELA, and the district has now adopted Amplify ELA, then the sustainability grant cannot actually fund that. And Bethany, do you want to add anything to that?
No, just that we know that can be a little bit confusing, but mostly with this example, because this is a textbook adoption year, officially, we're not allowed to use federal grants to purchase items that the district will be purchasing on their own as a result of that adoption year.
All right, thank you for that clarification. All right, so we're going to just give a general overview of the different sections of the application. Later on, we're going to have an actual walkthrough of that with more details. But with your proposal that you submit, you're going to look at your project or proposal's purpose. You're going to list the objectives to get there, and then the activities that you're going to be doing to reach those objectives, okay? There's also a section about coaching support. It asks if you will need one of our literacy coaches and what kind of support, so connecting that to the purpose of your proposal. We'll also ask you for a timeline of implementation and then completion, a budget, of course, just your numbers, and then also there's a section where you will respond to some questions about data collection and monitoring. And this is the big question, right? How much funding is actually available to you all? So the answer to that question is dependent upon the size of your school and the actual project proposal or grant proposal. However, the money that is available for the entirety of the grant program, the sustainability grant program, is $90,000. And we expect maybe to receive or at least approve 10 to 15 grants. And the average award in that case would be $6,000 per proposal. However, that of course can fluctuate depending on the amount of proposals that we approve or receive. And Dr. Kitzmiller, would you like to add anything here? No. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Sorry. Originally, we had absolutely no money budgeted for sustainability because we didn't anticipate our desire to continue funding the good work that's going on in some of the schools. So we were able to look around and find this initial $90,000 to put into the mix. And again, originally, after this summer, there would have been no money left for phase 1 schools. So we have 90,000 now. We may have a little bit more later. If we do, we'll spend it on the students. But because there's such good work, we were able to put this amount together, and we wish it could be $1 million, but this is what we have. But to reiterate, as important as the money is the fact that you can and should ask for coaching support as part of your plan, and we do have coaches designated to help with work. Thank you, Brittany.
All right, thank you, Dr. Kitzmiller. Okay, so we'll answer the question, how do I apply for these sustainability grants? First, we're going to do just sort of in a nutshell version of the process. You're going to receive an application via email this afternoon at some point. And in that application, you're going to, once you fill it out anyways, you're going to outline your proposal, as we stated before. After you go through all of those or respond to each of the prompts, you'll submit that proposal to an email that'll be linked both in the application and the email we send out to you this afternoon. From there, we'll evaluate. So the Rural Life review team is going to evaluate your proposal based on a few criteria. We'll get to those in just a moment during the walkthrough. That same team is going to contact you to start a conversation about your proposal. So we might ask you to clarify, change something here or there, okay? And then lastly, you'll of course be notified if your proposal's been approved and then capture your grant award. And when you can actually apply, that's now. So as soon as we get that application out to you this afternoon, you can start on your proposal. We'll start accepting them today, so as quick as you can get it done and submitted. And our team will start reviewing applications as they arrive and approve funding at some point between now and the end of July. So the next few slides are just a basic kind of walkthrough of the different components in the application. It will be, again, emailed to you in a Word document, which you'll just fill out and again submit to the email address that we'll include in that email too. So I'm not going to read word for word off of this, but you will have just a general overview about the program. And again, it reiterates that unfortunately we can't fund those textbooks or programs that are officially adopted where it is a textbook adoption year. I've already gone over a few of these guidelines, but again, they'll be listed in your application. I think the only new info here is that you'll have to send it electronically. You can either have approved signatures be electronic, or you can, scan the document with original signatures as well. Let's see. I think we've covered the rest of these too, but those will be included. Okay, yeah, here's the more specific information, of course, about the evaluation. So we have 40 points available, split up over purpose, innovation, growth, and budget, and then a couple bonus points. So this is how Each proposal will be reviewed by the Rural Life team. For the proposal's purpose, we're going to look at the objectives being clearly identified and if there's data to support that. The category of innovation, since it is an EIR grant, we're going to look at the objectives as they address both literacy and personalized learning strategies, the two key elements of our grant, and then also if the activities are innovative. Growth, so does the project actually build upon the school's previous work with literacy and personalized learning? And budget, so are they reasonable and appropriate, the items that or expenses that you've listed there? And the bonus points, there's one each of those, and one will be awarded to schools designated as rural and another for low expenditure schools. All right, so the form itself, here's your section with the project proposal, giving it a name, outlining your purpose, objectives, and activities. And the next section looks at the extent of coaching support that you'll need, a rough timeline of implementation and completion of the project, and then the data that you've used to develop the proposal, and then also the data you plan on using to actually keep track of its success. Your budget is just very basic. We have designated like 3 categories there, but you can list anything else in the other section, obviously. So we expect people want to maybe purchase materials, supplies, equipment, maybe do some professional development or have substitutes to cover some professional development days or something along those lines. And then, of course, your project contacts, names, and then signatures will actually conclude that application. All right, and so now I'm going to turn over the presentation to Bethany and also Richard so that they can answer any questions that you might have, or at least take note of those questions. Any that you want to ask, again, you can drop in the chat or you can raise your virtual hand or actual hand. And then if we're unable to provide answers during this time frame for whatever reason, we can always follow up in an email. So thank you, and I will hand it over.
Thank you, Brittany. All right, so what kind of questions are out there?
Is this something that is just for classrooms, or can you use it in like libraries?
Good question.
I think this is Richard Kitzmiller answering. I think that you could easily build a case for a library work. We have funded that in the original allocations. We've funded such activities before. So if it fits and the school chooses to go that direction, you know, again, it depends on how you build the case in your explanation, but certainly it is not excluded automatically because it's a library.
Okay, thank you.
It's a good question.
Can the funds be used to purchase tech tools, online subscriptions, and things of that nature?
Would you repeat the question? One word just disappeared from the sound. So repeat the question, please.
Yes, sir. I asked if the funds could be used to purchase technology tools, such as online subscriptions.
Yes, that again, depending on how you build the case, if it fits your school's needs, that would certainly be an eligible proposal.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Did I understand you correctly that we can expand beyond the grade band 6, 7, and 8?
I'm not sure that we said it, but yes, if you can build a case, part of what we're trying to do is to not just sustain the work, but expand the work, disseminate the work to other grades. So I think it would be possible to extend it to other grades, yes.
Is this meeting being recorded so that I can access this and show it to others?
Yes.
Thank you.
And you'll notice I placed a link in the chat to our VSI website, and that's where these recordings will end up. Okay, so Christy, that kind of goes back to your question. So you can always go to where the place that you went to register, you can go to the same place to find the materials from the session and the recording.
Right. And John, I just dropped that link again in the chat for everyone.
The concept of virtual wait time is a little awkward. We will wait, we'll look in the chat, but Bethany, John, or Brittany, anything else we need to conclude with? But we certainly will entertain any questions that you have.
No, I would just add, just apply. I mean, our intent is to support the schools and the students in our region. And, to Dr. Kitzmiller's point about, building a case for what you see as a way to support your students in your school, just encourage you to throw that idea out there, put it in an application, and we can move that conversation forward, and hopefully it'll be something that we can support.
Okay, somebody
would it, oh, sorry.
I was just going to say, somebody placed a question in the chat about, can this be used to purchase technology such as Chromebooks?
Good question.
My answer to that would be, again, it depends on how you build the case for literacy. We probably would look more closely at just a purchase of technology to see how it fits in the plan of literacy. I don't think it may be harder to get just a pure technology grant this time through with the small amount of money than it would have been the first time. But as in all cases, it depends on how you build the case for how will this help literacy in our school.
And I'll just add, I think in those situations too, really in terms of building that case, to how are you going to use those materials on a pretty regular basis? What impact is this purchase going to have directly on students, their learning, and hopefully, them building their, literacy skills, because that's ultimately, kind of a part of this grant. So yeah, just really be focused on what's the impact of this purchase on students.
One question I had was, can we use the money here for things like that are going to help us with distance learning, since that's a good possibility coming into this year, maybe technologies, programs that could help us reach our students and teach virtually?
I think that would, I think you would have identified a very real need, which is something we asked for. And so depending on, how you say you're going to use it, I could easily see you building a good proposal for that and a winning proposal for that.
I see that Debbie Webster has dropped a question about needing to get with her principal or just writing the proposal herself because they have 2 new principals. So anybody want to respond to that?
Which I think in this case, Debbie, Deborah, excuse me, with your background being in rural life the last couple of years, you might take a stab at pulling the proposal together and then have something to present to your principal or 2 principals. And then at that point, if we can be of any support to help kind of connect some dots, for your 2 new administrators, please reach out and we'd be willing to support that process for sure. Or maybe even your former coach, whoever your Niswonger coach was before, that could be a great resource as well.
I didn't know if I would be.
Oh, I think maybe we missed that comment. If somebody wants to.
I thought about that. I didn't know if I would be able to get a hold of the principals or not. And they're in transition right now, and I know the principals, I think, are supposed to be through today.
Deborah, I think I might have caught a little bit about maybe you're not sure how to get in touch with them at this point. It kind of broke up on me a little bit. Maybe add that question to the chat. Maybe that'll come through a little bit better.
Someone had put how the coaches will play a part in this.
Good question.
Can you explain that? I didn't. I just seen somebody put it into the chat box.
We appreciate you surfacing that. Yes, Melanie. So truly, our coaches are set to support the next round of schools, the next 31 schools that become a part of the Rural Life Project. We do have some space, and we are open to using our coaches to support the sustainability grant work. It may not be at the same exact frequency as they were there before. So last year, in essence, coaches visited each of their 4 or 5 schools once a week. So it may be that through this grant, we could support them being there every other week, or to do some touch points virtually versus kind of coming and spending a whole day at the school once a week. So that's something we can certainly explore depending on what you write in your proposal. That's a great question. It kind of gives me the giggles. All this wait time.
Can the teachers that apply for this, can they work at the same school?
Tell me more about your question, Shay.
Let's say, someone else at my school is applying for this too. I mean, is it only one submission for the grant, or as many as can possibly do it?
I'll answer, Bethany, and then you can come behind and clean it up. But I think it was our intention for the teachers in the school to work together and not to have. We certainly would not have 4 grants from one school. But it could be that there would be different ideas within the proposal, but we wouldn't have 4 $6,000 grants from one school. So we're hoping that the school can work together, but there could be multiple strands of ideas that, I mean, it doesn't say that there's exactly one activity. I mean, it might be 3 or 4 different activities. They all may be crucial.
Well, the reason why I was asking that, we are a pre-K through 8 school. So I was thinking about pre-K and then the lower elementaries and the middle school, and they would be separate needs for all 3 of those. So thank you very much.
Separate activities into one grant proposal.
Okay, that sounds okay. Thank you very much.
Dr. Kitzmiller, here's a good question from Debbie in the chat. Moving from a K-8 school to a middle school in Greene County, from what I understand, I guess it's the South Greene Middle School is a new treatment school. Can I apply for the grant even though all middle school teachers at Nola Chucky have been moved over to South Greene? That's going to be one of our special kind of situations just with schools kind of restructuring and whatnot.
My first reaction, and Debbie, you can follow back up with this, but my first reaction would be, since South Greene is there and will be receiving their version of the treatment school, school plan money, which will be more than the sustainability grants. I think that we probably ought to try to get your ideas folded into the school plan as a treatment school. We would have to be convinced, I think, to have a sustainability grant at a school at the same time we were doing a treatment grant at that school.
Well, how about at this point, we thank everyone for coming to the informational meeting. Like we mentioned before, the recording of this session will be on the Virtual Summer Institute website, right underneath the link where you click to join, if you came on that way. But either way, on that schedule page where it lists all the different sessions for the Virtual Summer Institute, there will be a link to watch the recording. So you can swing back around and watch this or share this with someone in that regard. Of course, we can hang on and answer any questions. Please feel free, once you get into the application and you get a question, shoot it our way, right? Send us an email and we can be a thought partner as you work to complete your proposal. Brittany or Dr. Kitzmiller, anyone else on our team want to add anything as we wrap up?
I have posted a link in the chat to our evaluation survey form. Especially if you need credit for this session, be sure to fill that out before you leave, okay? Because what I do is I'll collect all that information from the form at about 15 minutes after this session ends, and then I will email everybody their certificate tonight, okay? And you'll receive that via email is what will happen. So if you would, just fill that out, and you can fill it out for a certificate, or if you can just say no, it will just let you complete our about a 1-minute survey is what it will basically do.
Thank you, John.
I would like to say that we certainly appreciate the work that has happened for the last 2 years, and we're happy that we were able to find a way to maintain some contact. There's a lot of good things going on. There's some unfinished work, and we want to be a partner with you as we move forward through the next 2 years. So we look forward to getting some good ideas and being able to support those good ideas. And as Bethany said, shoot us questions directly to our staff or to your former coach if they're still around, and we'll be glad to help you. But hopefully the application process is fairly straightforward and fairly easy, and we didn't want to add an extra burden, but we did need to get the information. So thank you all.
And
Thank
maybe we'll see some of you tomorrow for our informational meeting about the Networked Improvement Community opportunity. That's another way to continue the support for our first group of schools. Sorry, Brittany, I think I spoke over you.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just going to remind everyone that they'll be receiving an email later this afternoon with that application contained within it.
All righty then, we'll hang around. You feel free to hop off.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.